Okay, so today we're going to deep dive into something that a lot of people think about doing but can be pretty overwhelming. Creating your own website.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big project, lots to consider.
Right. And we've actually got a really cool tool to help break this whole process down. We're looking at an actual website creation checklist, one that you can use in the real world.
I love checklists.
Me too.
Okay.
They just make things so much easier.
Yeah.
So this one we found is really comprehensive. It's going to make sure you don't miss any of those crucial steps along the way.
Yeah, and that's important. You don't want to get halfway through and realize, oh, sure, I forgot about that.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Phase one on this checklist is all about content. And I think this is something that a lot of people, maybe they overlook it a little bit.
Definitely people get excited about the design. You know they want to jump in and start picking colors and fonts.
Oh yeah, make it look all pretty.
Exactly. But this checklist is like, hold on, pump the brakes. We got to start with the content first. That means the text, the images, the videos, all that good stuff.
It's almost like before you even think about what the house is going to look like,
Yes.
you got to figure out the foundation, the blueprint. Right?
Got it. Content is the foundation of your website. It's what gives it substance.
I like that analogy. So the checklist goes into detail about what types of content we need. You know, the basics like your homepage, the about page, services, products.
And don't forget the About page. Sometimes people kind of brush over that one.
Oh, you mean the one that's like all about me, me, me.
Well, yeah, but think of it as introducing yourself to your audience. What's your story? What makes you unique? It helps you find your voice and connect with your visitors.
That's a good point. It's almost like they're encouraging us to think outside the box, even at this early stage.
Absolutely. That's where you can get creative. What are those unique elements that will make your website stand out from the crowd? Maybe it's a blog, a portfolio, a resource library.
Or a podcast.
Exactly. Don't forget about media, incorporating video, audio, even interactive elements that can take your website to a whole new level.
It's like instead of just reading a boring brochure, you're having this immersive experience.
Right. You want your visitors to be engaged, to really connect with your content.
Okay, so we've got our content sorted. What's next?
Phase 2 is all about branding and functionality, making sure your website not only looks good, but works smoothly.
Okay, and I noticed the checklist even goes as far as reminding us to have the hex codes for our logo colors ready.
Yeah, that level of detail is important, especially if you're working with a web developer. Having those codes ensures that perfect shade of blue is consistent across your website.
And speaking of consistency, there's a whole section on the checklist about social media links.
Right, you want to make it easy for people to connect with you on all platforms, and for you, it helps extend the reach of your website.
Yeah, I feel like this checklist is really thinking of everything. I mean, it even mentions website tools. We're talking scheduling, booking, e-commerce platforms.
Essential stuff, especially if you're running a business.
For sure. But it made me wonder, how early in the game should we be considering these?
The earlier, the better. Trust me. Integrating those tools into your website design from the get-go saves you a ton of headaches later on.
Okay, like if you're planning on having online booking on your site.
Exactly. Research booking plugins, make sure they're compatible with your chosen website platform, all before you even start designing anything. Retrofitting is never fun.
Makes sense. So we've got our content, our branding, our functionality figured out. What else is there?
Well, this next part is interesting. The checklist asks you to gather some examples of websites you like, for inspiration.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. But I'm curious, why is that valuable to the person actually building your website?
Think of it as visual communication. You might say you want a modern or minimalist design, but those words can mean different things to different people. Providing concrete examples gives your web developer a clear understanding of your aesthetic preferences. It's like showing them, this is the vibe I'm going for.
So it's less about copying those sites exactly, more about conveying the overall style you want, right?
Exactly. Plus, it helps you, the client, articulate your vision more effectively.
Love that. And speaking of vision, it's not all about aesthetics, right? This checklist really drives that home with a whole section dedicated to outlining your top 5 goals for the website.
It's right there, 5 numbered slots ready to be filled in. And this is crucial because at the end of the day, a website is a tool.
Right, not just a pretty online brochure.
Exactly. So what do you want your website to achieve? Generate leads, boost sales, build an online community?
Maybe all of the above.
Maybe. But having those goals clearly defined from the start is essential. It ensures your website is built for success, whatever that success looks like for you.
Okay, so we've talked about content, branding, functionality, and goals. There's one more piece of the puzzle,
Mm.
the technical stuff.
The behind-the-scenes magic.
Exactly. And this is where a lot of people get intimidated. Domain names, hosting, all that.
I get it. It can seem daunting, but it's really not as complicated as it sounds. And this checklist, thankfully, it provides resources for getting help with both.
That's a relief.
Huh.
Okay, so break it down for us. What exactly are domain names and hosting?
All right. Think of a domain name as your online address. Like, it's how people find your website on the internet. You want something memorable, relevant to your brand, and easy to type. We often see people struggling, like, should I go with a .com or a .org?
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Well, .com is generally seen as more commercial, while .org is often used by nonprofits. Then we have hosting. Think of it as renting space on a server to store all your website files, images, text, videos, the whole shebang.
Okay, so it's like the actual physical space where my website lives.
Exactly. And you want a hosting provider that's reliable and secure because a slow or glitchy website can drive visitors away.
No one wants that. I also noticed that this checklist even mentions getting set up with Google. Sitemaps, analytics, CAPTCHA. That sounds pretty techy.
It is, but these are important tools that can significantly impact your website's performance.
Okay, unpack these terms for us non-techies.
You got it. So a sitemap is basically a roadmap of your website that you submit to search engines like Google. It helps them understand your site's structure and content so they can index it properly.
So it helps people actually find my website when they're searching online.
Right. Then there's analytics. This tracks how visitors interact with your website, which pages they visit, how long they stay, what they click on. Super valuable information. It helps you understand what's working, what's not, and make improvements.
Sounds super helpful. And what about CAPTCHA? Isn't that like the little puzzle thing you have to solve to prove you're not a robot?
That's the one. It might seem annoying, but it's crucial for preventing spam. Those little puzzles help protect your website from bots that try to submit junk data through your forms.
Okay, so all these things, sitemap, analytics, CAPTCHA, they might seem like small details, but they actually play a big role in the overall success of a website.
Definitely. They contribute to a better user experience, better search engine visibility, and a more secure website.
So to wrap things up, it seems like this checklist really acts as a comprehensive roadmap for anyone looking to create a website.
It is. It guides you through every stage, from content creation to branding and functionality, setting goals, and tackling those essential technical considerations.
And even though it can feel overwhelming at times, especially with all the details involved.
Right. But remember, the checklist breaks everything down into manageable steps. And there are tons of resources available online, tutorials, articles, communities.
And sometimes even the checklist provider itself can offer guidance.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Building a website can and should be a fun and rewarding experience.
And with a checklist like this, you're empowered to be an active participant in the process, ensuring the final website truly reflects your vision and helps you achieve your goals.
Exactly. And, one thing to think about as you go through this process, consider how accessibility plays a role, not just in terms of design, but also your content. You want to make sure your website is usable and enjoyable for everyone, regardless of their abilities.
That's a great point to end on, something for our listeners to really think about. Thanks for diving deep with me today.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk websites.